Good evening, and welcome to CHIP's 14th Annual General Election Candidates Forum. I'm Tim Carey. I'm the president of the Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress, and I thank you all for being here for this important event. Part of our mission is to educate the public on issues and promote participation in the political process, and tonight's forum allows us to do just that. Candidates for political office across Lorain County will share their views and introduce themselves to our community. And representatives from various organizations will introduce us to details of issues that we'll be voting on come November 5th. I'd like to thank our Political Action Committee for coordinating this event and for inviting our esteemed guests. And now I have the opportunity to introduce you to a co-chair of our Political Action Committee, Mr. David Arredondo.
Thank you, Tim. I'd like to announce that in the past, you've been used to being greeted by Mr. Joel Arredondo, the CHIP president. This past summer, there was an election. Mr. Arredondo decided not to run for re-election, and Mr. Carrion has since replaced him. However, Mr. Arredondo will be seen later on in the program as one of the candidates. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones and keep your conversations to a minimum, if at all. And I'd like to tell you about our format. As in the past, this forum will be videotaped and played the week prior to November 3rd on the Lorain County Community College cable network. And that network runs throughout Lorain County. And it will also be on Lorain City Schools cable channel 20 for those who have cable access to channel 20. However, you are not limited to just the broadcasts on the LCC network and Lorain City Schools. Lorain City Schools, which is taping this, will put it on YouTube, and beginning next week, you will be able to see the entire broadcast on YouTube. So we want to thank both Lorain County Community College and Lorain City Schools for all they have done in helping us to broadcast the proceedings of our candidates' night throughout the years. So the format this evening is the fact that we have many contested candidates. Most of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to give a statement about themselves. Issue 1 candidate, Ted Kalo, will also be given a 2-minute piece on issue 1. Representatives, city council candidates for the city of Lorain and issue 2 will be asked to participate in a roundtable which will allow for both questions and answers. Now, the roundtable candidates will be given a 2-minute introduction followed by 2 to 3 questions and then a 1-minute closing statement. I'd like to, at this time, introduce our moderators for the evening, the co-chairs of the Political Action Committee, Mr. Antonio Barrios and Ms. Mary Santiago. And at this point, I will turn the program over to them and Mary Santiago.
Thank you, David. Welcome, and again, my name is Mary Santiago, one of the moderators. And tonight we're going to have a message from Superintendent Thomas Tucker from the Lorain City Schools. He's unable to be here today, but he did send us something via satellite, so therefore, could we please go to that first?
I'd like to thank the CHIPS organization this evening for allowing me the opportunity to film a little information on Lorain City Schools and be able to be shown at the same time as Candidates Night. It's a very valuable program that they have, and I'm glad to be able to be part of it. What I'd like to talk to tonight is what everyone's been reading about in the newspapers over the past 6-7 months, is Lorain's Academic Distress Commission and the Academic Recovery Plan. I'd like to talk just a little bit about it briefly. I've been doing presentations around town and am available to come speak to anybody and answer any questions about that. Last spring, we in Lorain City Schools wrote our own academic plan, which we began implementing in February and March of last year. And that was based upon what our test scores had come out and our district report card had said the previous years. In March of that year, when the report cards were finally released, under Ohio Revised Code 3302.10, there has to be an academic distress commission formed in a district that hits a number of marks. And one of those is to be an academic emergency and not hit your AYP. Lorain had hit the mark at that point. The state superintendent of public instruction then appointed people, and Lorain School Board appointed people to serve on an academic distress commission. They were formed in April and immediately began their work in May. Throughout the summer, and I was part of that committee and that organization, they spent over 40 hours to put together what was required to do what's called an academic recovery plan. It was completed on August 19th. It was then submitted to the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. Ross in Columbus, and about a month later he approved the plan as submitted. The plan itself is over 16 pages long, and it is listed on our website if you'd like to go to Lorain City Schools website and take a look at the plan. Basically what the plan says is this, that we have to address our academic areas that need improvement. The plan states on how the commission will be put aside and we can move forward. The goal is to get, under the old rules, to hit continuous improvement for 2 straight years. Now this year the report cards for districts changed, so we have to achieve a C in 2 years out of 3 years. And that's what the Commission's goal is to have us do. Now the plan was written, and what the plan was based upon was a number of things. They looked at all of our data report cards and district report cards over the past 4 years and where we had come from and where we were headed. They then sent a team from the Ohio Department of Education, and they spent a week in the district interviewing people, looking at the way we did business. They submitted that report to the commission, and then the academic plan was put together based on those 2 things. They have a number of items that they do. They have annual goals, long-term goals, and quarterly goals. In addition to that, what they took were those overreaching goals, of which you can read on the internet, and they put them into 5 priorities. And this is what we are focusing on, and the whole district is putting a lot of emphasis on. Those five priorities are: 1, school climate and culture; number 2, pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade literacy; rigorous, relevant curriculum and instruction; student and staff attendance; and financial support of academic achievement. Now, under each of those 5 areas, there's listed a number of strategies that we are putting into place to make that happen within the district. A couple of items under those. Under school climate and culture, which is priority number 1 for the district, is review the district mission and vision. We'll be putting together a strategic planning committee come January, February, and spend on the spring working through our district vision and mission and looking at where we want to go for 5 years. They want us to continue to create partnerships with our foundations and other local organizations, which we've made a major effort to make that happen. They want us to research similar districts such as ours, which we've reached out to a number of districts on what are their successes and what can we learn from other cities that are similar to what we're experiencing. We are to develop and implement a family communication plan. Under this communication plan, they want teachers to contact students and parents at home for positive and also a comprehensive outreach and support for the families. Be looking for a survey that's going to be coming out. We're going to be doing 2 separate surveys, one for staff and then one for the community. The results of those surveys will serve us well on where we're going to head in the future. So please take the time to fill those out. They want us to establish high academic expectations for the district, and also to promote district-wide student recognition plan, which we have reinstituted the Do the Right Thing, and we're also looking at other student recognition programs which should be rolled out in the spring for the district, which we've always had ones at the building level. In addition to that, we're developing professional learning communities. Those learning communities involve principals, they involve teachers, they involve students, and they involve the parents and the community. And that's to sustain a leadership team to work with our students to move them forward. We're going to be doing more marketing. If you haven't noticed, we've been putting more things in the newspaper. We're going to be expanding our television news shows. This is a start of that, and we're opening a lot more information to go home. We will be looking at a human resource plan. Some things that are going to be occurring is there is projected to be a lot of retirements in the teaching ranks in another year and a half. And we have to be prepared for that and make sure that we have the correct staff and quality staff to replace our teachers that will be retiring. Next priority is pre-K3 literacy. There's been a number of articles in the paper on that. What that means is every student will be on track reading in the 3rd grade. What we need to do is we test every student right away in the first 30 days of school from kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade to see whether they're on track for achieving their reading goals or not on track. If they're not on track, then there is what's called a RIMP, a Reading Improvement Monitoring Plan for those students that is written. It's about a 5-page document that will address and put in interventions that those students need. In the last 2 years, we've put a large 90-minute block of reading time for those students and then a 30-minute intervention block to address their individual needs. It's very crucial that we get all our students reading by the 3rd grade. There's a number of things that happen, and this was passed by the legislature last year, and this is now state law. We've put new reading programs in place to address that. We've had what we call 2 tiers. We have a Tier 1, which is our general reading plan, and then we have a Tier 3 reading program, and that's extra reading help for interventions for those students. We have our title teachers, and we have plans for those students to make sure that they read. Because right now we don't have all our students on track, because you need to get them reading so they can succeed in other schools. We've developed an instructional round program where our principals and our administrative staff make sure that they check in with the classroom teachers on a daily basis. We also have revised our kindergarten screening program and make sure that we have an assessment plan so we make sure our students are learning what they really need to learn. The priority 3 is a rigorous and relevant curriculum and instructional plan. What we did over the past 8 months was put together what's called a pacing guide. And what that helps the teachers and the staff do is make sure that what is being taught for the students is within a time frame and that they're covering all the material that they need. The new state law, we have a new Common Core curriculum which will be implemented. And we want to make sure with our student mobility rate, with a lot of our students going from school to school, we want to make sure that wherever they are in one school, when they go to another school, that they're within a day or 2 of that instruction. And then to have a quick assessment to make sure that they've learned that. And if they haven't, then to go back to make sure that they learn what they need to do. We have an in-depth professional development program which we've really ramped up this past year. To actually focus on the reading programs, the math programs, we are implementing a new Ohio teacher evaluation system and Ohio principal evaluation system, which is mandated by the state also this year. We've been training our teachers and spending a lot of time and money to make sure that they're on track with all the new things that are coming down. In addition to that, we also have what's called the Ohio Improvement Process. That is for districts that are struggling academically. We have a committee of about 30 people, which involves every principal, 1 teacher, representative of every building leadership team, and also community members that do review the academic and the social areas of our school, make recommendations that we then put into place, which then is reported to the state. And this is all part of the federal waiver that the state of Ohio received, but we are being monitored by this Ohio Improvement Plan. We also needed to expand the Prepared for Success program. Next year on the state report card, we'll be graded on what our students do when they leave us. Do they go to college? Do they go to a tech school? Are they employed? Do they go to the military? So we've put together and brought back a program called AVID, which we've implemented in our 9th grade year, which we hope to expand to 7th and 8th grade. AVID teaches those students how to take notes, how to be organized, how to use binders, how to go to college, how to get ready for college, what to prepare, and they also have college visits. So that is already in the 9th grade program, which we're hoping to expand. The other area of priority, of course, was the student and staff attendance. We have taken a real huge leap on making sure that our students and our staff is where they need to be, because if they're not together, then they're not learning. We are partnering with the court systems, and we are partnering with a number of our safety resource officers to make sure that we get our students in school, finding out what those barriers are. Is it transportation? Do they need an alarm clock? What are the issues to make sure they're in school? Because if you're not in school, you're not learning. I'm happy to report that this year, and this has been the first quarter of school, the first 9 weeks of school, our attendance rate for our students are pushing 95%. That's the highest it's been in a long time, district-wide. Some buildings are as high as 97%. Our staff attendance this year, up to this point, is 97%. It's the highest it's been in years. Students and staff together, that's how we do it, with a parent partnership. So our attendance programs and that are successful. We need to continue that to make sure that happens. It's always difficult in the winter months. It gets mighty cold and we do have snow in northern Ohio, but we need to make sure that we get those students out there. The last priority is the financial support of academic achievement. What that means is we have to make sure that our funding is going to classrooms, to support classrooms for everything. And what we have done is restructured a lot of the way we do business here. A lot of people are now in the buildings, closer to the action. We've shrunk the size of our administrative staff in a central office, and we've put a lot of those folks out into the buildings where they impact students the most. We've tried very hard to make sure that our class sizes are reasonable. That's difficult in a city this size, but we've tried very, very hard to do that. This year we made a conscious effort to make sure that textbooks and materials were available for students. We have an iPad plan for all our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, that they're available in the buildings for those students. A MacBook Air plan for junior high, so we get the technology. Now what we're working on is making sure that our infrastructure, so our wireless, can accommodate those, and that's where we're moving next. There's a lot of issues that we're moving forward on, and we feel we're making good progress. With our commission meetings meet once a month, our board meetings meet on the opposite Tuesdays of those commission meetings, and we're moving forward. We welcome you to come into our buildings. You can look on our website for any kind of information, what to visit, where to go, and help our students. We're always looking for volunteers. We'd love to have you help and have us come in and help the students read. They really appreciate it. And once again, I thank the CHIPS organization for allowing me this opportunity to bring you up to speed on the academic recovery plan for Lorain City Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. And let's go on to the next issue. Issue 1 from the Lorain County Sales Tax would be Commissioner Ted Kahlo.
I would like to start off by thanking the Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress for allowing me to explain the importance of Issue 1, as well as those of you taking the time to watch and become informed. The Board of Lorain County Commissioners, myself, Lori Kokowski, and Tom Williams, have placed on the ballot a proposal to raise the sales and use tax by 1/2% for the purpose of providing additional general revenues for Lorain County for a 3-year time period. Excuse me. While also lowering the collection of inside millage property tax of 1.4 mils for the same 3-year period. It will take a majority yes vote to pass this issue. What did this mean, and how did we get here? Lorain County is the 9th largest county in the state of Ohio, while being tied for the lowest rate of sales tax. Lorain County has always lived within its means, even with low sales tax revenue, and had growth in population and jobs until the recession hit. County government, like all of our families, saw a significant reduction in our revenues due to many factors outside of our own control. Our once $62 million budget, which provided services for jail, sheriff, the recorder, the treasurer, the auditor, prosecutor, has dipped as low as $48 million in the last 5 years, a $14 million cut, over 20%. We have sustained lower returns on investment income, a shift in local government funding, as well as multiple cuts from the state, including personal property taxes. All of our elected officials and their staffs have tried to maintain as many services as possible, but at this point it has become unsustainable, and Lorain County is on the verge of even more significant cuts to personnel and services. We have come to you, the voters, multiple times to ask for a permanent increase in the sales tax, and it hasn't been successful. We have listened to the voters' comments about why they failed, and we have addressed those issues in issue 1. Most people believe we have a need, but the general concern is how county government is going to spend your tax dollars. First of all, you asked us to show you to be responsible. You've asked us to be responsible. We have done that through multiple budget reductions, including cutting over 20% of our workforce, a 3-year freeze on wages, increasing costs of health care onto our employees, and suspending major capital improvements. Second of all, you have said any increase should be temporary, so you, the voter, could evaluate how we performed with your tax dollars. We have done that by making it a 3-year temporary issue, and it must go back to the ballot to continue. Third, you told us that property taxes were too much of a burden, so we have addressed that issue. Every $100,000 in property valuation will receive a 1.4 mil reduction in your property tax. That equals a $49 per every $100,000 valuation. We are using a model that has been used successfully around the state to take the burden off our property tax owners' backs and make it a consumption tax, which is not charged on basic necessities like groceries, medicines, or utilities. It is an increase of just 50 cents for every $100 spent in taxable items, and still makes us one of the lowest in the state and lower than all of our neighboring counties. The Commissioner's only tools for adjusting revenue are the inside millage property taxes and the sales taxes. We have chosen to lower the property tax while slightly increasing the sales tax. This will return over $8.2 million to our property owners in Lorain County, while also generating almost $16 million to fund county government. We would appreciate a yes vote on Election Day to keep county government running while lowering your property taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. Now we're going to go into our first roundtable, which would be with issue 2 with Lorain County Community College. Dr. Rory Church, please step up. Thank you for being here, Dr. Church. I will be asking you some questions, and then you provide me with concerns. Our first question is, according to the current news report, more students are graduating with debt than degrees. What is LCC doing to hold down the cost of college degree and ensure student success?
The cost of going to college today is one of the major issues that's causing folks not to get the education that they really need to be successful in the workforce. So what we've attempted to do is to do as much as we could to restructure how we deliver education so that we can do it at the lowest cost possible. And that has taken many different forms. We are very fortunate that the work that we've been able to do has produced the 3rd lowest tuition rate in the entire state of Ohio. And when you combine the low tuition rate for Lorain County Community College with the university partnership program model, we have been able to provide the lowest cost bachelor's degree in the entire state. Students can take 3 years of coursework toward a 4-year degree program from Lorain County Community College's curriculum at our tuition rate, and 1 year from the universities and get the university's degree, saving students over $50,000 for a bachelor's degree. And that really alleviates a lot of the debt burden that students have.
Thank you. And for the next question, we believe that Lorain Community College understands the benefits students receive at LCCC. What are some of the benefits LCCC provides to the community beyond education?
We have a dual challenge in Lorain County. On the one hand, we need to make sure that individuals have the skills and abilities they need to compete effectively in the workforce of the knowledge economy in the 21st century. But at the same time, we've got to figure out a way to grow some more jobs in Lorain County so that folks that have those skills and abilities can live in Lorain County, earn a living, raise their families, and enjoy the quality of life that we have here. So we have worked very diligently with other partners like the Lorain County Commissioners and the County Chamber of Commerce to put in place a business incubator to help grow new companies. One of the things we know is that 2/3 of the new jobs created in the last 20 years have been created by small and startup companies. So we've tried to wrap around those companies the kinds of services they need, the coaching, teaching, and mentoring to help them start new enterprises. We also have worked with the philanthropic community to raise some dollars to make the very earliest investments in some of those startup companies. Through the Innovation Fund, we've been able to help over 100 companies get started right here in our community. We can directly show the progress for creation of over 1,000 jobs in Lorain County since 2007. So we're making progress. It's a slow process because when you start new enterprises, they start small. And while they may double their employment base, it may only be a few people per company. But our best chance to rejuvenate the economy in the long term is for us to be able to have a vibrant new company development process.
And this is my final question, and then you could give us a 2-minute of whatever your message you want to get out. What is LCCZ doing to enhance diversity among its employees and student populations?
Over the last decade, Lorain County Community College has seen a growth in its student population of over 100%. And during that same period of time, the percentage of students who are African American and Hispanic has actually increased. So we've had some significant success in encouraging students of minority heritage to take advantage of the educational programs at Lorain County Community College. And you ask what we've done, probably one of the best strategies we've pursued is partnering with organizations like the Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress, El Centro, and a number of the other community-based partners to try to help people understand why education is important, how they can get access to it, and how we can help them assemble the finances necessary to pursue the education that they in fact need. So we've had a lot of success. We've got a lot more work to do, but we're making progress. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for those questions. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes about Issue 2. Issue 2 is the renewal of the local levy to support the University Partnership Program. You know, in the 1990 census, we discovered that Lorain County had the highest percentage of adults with associate degrees of any of the counties in Northeast Ohio. Lorain County Community College had really made a difference. But at the bachelor's level, this county was dead last, and at the graduate level, dead last by more. This community pulled together and took the leadership to create the University Partnership Program, wherein we would use the community college as a host to recruit universities to bring the bachelor's degree completion programs right here to Lorain County, where all of those folks already had associate degrees. We asked the community in the fall of 1995 to pass a small local levy to put in place the infrastructure to enable the University Partnership Program to succeed. They did that. We renewed that in 2004, and we're asking the community to make that commitment for another 10 years. Why? Well, because what we've discovered is that the University Partnership is working. If you look at the 2010 census, what we see is that Lorain County had a 25% increase in bachelor's degree holders during that decade, a 41% increase in graduate degree holders. We went from being dead last in the region in baccalaureate attainment to being 7th out of 18 counties. So we're making progress. We've got a long ways to go to catch Lake and Geauga County, but we're on our way. And so we ask the community to renew its commitment to the University Partnership Levy. We're asking for a renewal and a 0.6 mil increase to deepen and expand the University Partnership Program right here in our community. We ask for your support to continue a good thing Lorain County has going for its future.
Thank you, Dr. Church. Now I want to call my co-chair. Antonio Barrios, please, for the next president and council members.
If we could have up the candidates for the City of Lorain President of Council, Mr. Joel Arredondo and Mr. Eli de los Santos. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Yeah. Okay, we'll start out with a 2-minute opening. And we'll start out with President of Council, Joel Arredondo.
Thank you, Antonio, and Chip, once again, for hosting the forum. 14 years, boy, it goes by fast. My name is Joel Arredondo, President of Lorain City Council. I'm the Democratic candidate. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Lorain, born and raised in South Lorain. I currently reside on the west side with my beautiful wife of 31 years, Joyce Furlick Arredondo. I have a son, Andy, who lives in Florida, works at the University of Central Florida. I have a daughter, Mia, who lives in Lorain with us and is employed at NASA. I'm a 1965 graduate of Lorain Admiral King, a 1972 graduate of Kent State University. Like many students here in Lorain, I came from a large family of 7. My father was a steel worker. He told us he would help us any way he could. Education-wise was the way to get out of poverty and how to move up. For that reason, I worked 1 year in the steel plant. I worked various other jobs. That's why if you do the math, it took me a little longer than 4 years to graduate from college, but once again, when I did, I received a dual major in history and Spanish and also a minor in business education. I worked 17 years in retail establishment, restaurants, and for the last 29 years, I've been in auto sales. I currently work for Sunnyside Toyota. I also, as I said, I'm president of Lorain City Council, and I'm seeking my 4th term. Confidence and trust is the biggest reasons why I feel that I should be reelected. My ability to lead, listen, and learn are also, and I'll expand on those later. Thank you.
Opening statement for Mr. Eli de los Santos.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eli de los Santos. I am the Republican candidate for Lorain City Council President. Relatively new to this, but I'm going to try to share with you as much as I can about myself. I was born in Puerto Rico, and then we moved here sometime in the 1990s. I've been a resident of both the west side and the south side of Lorain. I graduated from Earl C. Clements in Kentucky, and I currently am pursuing my bachelor's in finance. I am married to my lovely wife, Joanly de los Santos, which is a special education teacher here in Lorain. We have 2 boys, Noah that is with me today, 7, and Raphael that is just turned 3. And we have a baby on the way as well. Don't know the sex of the baby yet. It's our tradition to find out at the very end. We are both, of course, currently working here in the city where we live. Very fortunate to do that. I'm a relationship banker, and again, she's a special education teacher. I believe that some of the background and experience that I have make make me a valuable candidate to be able to share my skills with the community. Thank you.
We'll go with the first question to Mr. Santos. What is the role of President of City Council, and how can you advance the decision-making process in City Council?
I believe that the role of City Council is to help the mayor, of course, in a situation that he may not be present. I know that, we also could provide some transparency. There's a few other things that we can do, maybe sometimes control what happens. For your second question, okay. The advance of the decision-making of council is just to be transparent and to, if anything, I'll bring things out to light.
Mr. Arredondo, same question.
Thank you. President of City Council is part of the executive branch of government in the city of Lorain. We have 5 other positions, including council president. We have the mayor. Council president serves when the mayor is not absent. Most recently, I attended a NAACP function, was asked to sit in for the mayor since he was out of town. In the past administration, the mayor was abroad overseas, so I also assumed that position while he was gone during council meeting. The treasurer, law director, and auditor also serve from the executive branch. As president of City Council, it is my role to listen to my constituents, learn what the issues are, and lead in the council meetings. I'm there to maintain discipline and order. Just a quick story, when I started 6 years ago, then they used to have policemen in the audience to monitor. I was there for 2 meetings and the policeman says, "You don't need me here." And I have not seen one since. Thank you.
Second question to Ms. Joelle Arredondo. Currently, there is a proposed ballot initiative that asks the voters of Lorain County to change the structure of government to one that closely resembles Cuyahoga County government. It calls for a 7-district county council elected by the voters and appointed by county executive. The office of treasurer, clerk of courts, recorder, and coroner will also be appointed by the council. The prosecutor, auditor, and sheriff would be elected by the voters. 2 major reasons for the proposal changes are saving of tax dollars and better, fair representation of all Lorain Countians. How do you feel about the possible change?
I'm totally opposed to this change. The way it is set up, as it says, it is there to save tax dollars and also some efficiencies. This is the work of a small group of individuals who have had no transparency, no openness to it. They meet privately. There's no public input. Just to give you an idea, about 15 years ago in the city of Lorain, there was a proposed charter amendment to change our municipality status to a charter amendment status. There was a committee. At that time, I was not involved. I was in politics. I was not on the board or even participated as a citizen. But there was a citizens group. They had leaders. They had followers. It was open discussion, very broad-based. Bottom line was, it was brought to a vote. The voters voted against it. That is the process that should be employed, not one where there's backroom dealings, one-sided, and no openness and transparency. Till they could prove elsewhere, I have no support. They do not have my support for this proposed charter amendment.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Santos, the same question.
I disagree respectfully with Mr. Arredondo. I think that one of the job duties that we have, or that city representatives have, is to find ways on how to eliminate or save the taxpayers' money. I don't know the ins and outs of the change, but from what I've seen, it is something that I would support. You know, I of course, you know, I understand looking from a standpoint of, you know, maybe there was something eliminated, but I agree. I think that we should save taxpayer money, and, you know, from what I know so far of the bill.
The third question. What skills are you bringing to the table as City Council President?
As I said, I am a relationship banker. It's a fancy word for just being knowledgeable in a few different areas. I have some experience in mortgage background, and I also do business banking. What I would bring to the table, of course, is just that exactly. Just try to find ways to making what we do easier and better.
Now sounds like we're off. We'll go into the, yes, the last question for Mr. Joel Arredondo. Okay, same question, Joel.
Thank you for that opportunity. Prior to being in the political arena, which has been, frankly, about 6 years, that was my 3 terms, I have had over 30 years in the leadership role as president of Mexican Mutual Society, president of CHIP, the Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress. I'm also president of my finance board at my church, St. Francis Cabrini. I'm the past president of St. Cyril Methodius Holy Name Society and Parish Council. I serve on the board of Community Foundation. I've also a member of the Growth Association, FOPA Lodge 46, and I'm also a member of the Executive Committee of the Democratic Party. What I bring to the table is not only the leadership, but I also believe, as I said before, I bring the confidence and trust in my electorate. I welcome my opponent to challenge me, but once again, after everything is said and done, I think my experience and my leadership is what the voters will, I ask for their vote.
We'll go into the 1-minute closing statement then.
Again, I'd like to thank Chip for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm just a simple Christian resident of the community. You know, I wake up in the morning, I take my kids to school, go to work, my wife picks my kids up, and then she comes home. And in between there, you know, I just look and see areas that I would actually like to be able to participate in, because I think we need change in. I don't have a lot of outside experience, and quite frankly, I think that that's a plus. What I can bring to the table is again, just being a business banker and working in finance, that maybe I can apply those skills to our city. And I hope that you on November 5th choose me and vote for me. Thank you.
Closing statement.
Last year at this time, the City of Lorain was advocating raising the income tax to help with rejuvenation of the city. We had tried this for many years to raise taxes to better the city, the infrastructure, the roads, the sewers. Amazingly, the Lorain City Schools also have the same issue on the ballot. Questions were asked, comments were made. Personally, I thought if we got one of the issues passed, it would have been great. Lo and behold, we got them both. I attribute that to the leadership, Superintendent Tom Tucker, and also Mayor Chase Rittenauer. I believe the public believes there was confidence and trust that this was going to be done. Fast forward a year later, we see right now, the City of Lorain, we have over $25 million, infrastructure, roads. We're moving forward, economic development, which is also very important to be done. With the towers coming down along the lake, Riverside development will be coming. This is the time for experience and leadership to maintain this, and for that, I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
And that is the questions and answers for the presidents of City Council. Thank you both, gentlemen. Next, we'd like to invite Council, I believe that's Ward 1, Brian J. Gates and Kendra Shepard. We'll start with a 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you, Antonio. I'd like to start by thanking the Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress for having us. Again, I am Kendra, and I'm here tonight to respectfully ask for your vote for Lorain City Council, Ward 1 representative. I've been an East Side resident for 30-plus years, a 1981 graduate of Lorain High School. I have over 30 years' experience in the private sector, crossing a wide range of disciplines from customer service to logistics and supply chain, to sourcing and negotiating rates and contracts, to sales, and most recently marketing, where I've managed multi-million-dollar projects for the past several years and have consistently come in on time and under budget. Most of my exposure to local politics has been at a grassroots level. I helped author and implement the Lorain County Libertarian Party charter and bylaws, and I have been engaged, vocal, and influential when it comes to Lorain issues I feel strongly about, up to and including spending my own money on self-authored radio ads and yard signs in opposition to what I felt was gross abuse of taxpayer money, specifically the tax credit reduction issue 23. I will bring that passionate experience to City Council chambers and City Hall and be a champion for residents, business owners, and taxpayers in Ward 1 and throughout the city. I will make East Side Industrial Park a priority as the best way to lighten the burden of living in one of the highest income tax cities in the state is to increase the tax base by bringing in new business and reduce the burden of all of us individually.
Move the mic closer, please.
Closer? I'm sorry. I will also commit to acknowledging and responding to all messages from constituents within 48 hours of receipt. I've spoken to many Ward 1 residents, and the number one concern they have is that they are not being heard. As a Ward 1 resident, I can also attest to this from personal experience. In closing, I will respond, and I will keep the interest of the taxpayers at the forefront of the issue put before me. I have no hidden personal agenda, and I serve no special interest group. I will serve you. I thank you in advance for your trust, and I ask once again for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Gates, opening statement.
Thank you, Antonio. I am Brian Gates. I'm current First Ward City Councilman in the city of Lorain. I'm running for re-election because in my 4 years on City Council, I have a proven track record of making difficult but ultimately correct decisions. In my first few years, I helped put Lorain on sound fiscal footing. We have had an actual balanced budget in every year I've been on City Council. We have moved from crippling deficits to a surplus, putting us on the verge of being removed from fiscal emergency by the state of Ohio for the first time since 2002. I inherited a city with crumbling infrastructure in our roads, sewers, and housing. Years of neglect are finally being reversed. Currently, we have $50 million in repairs, with much more planned over the next several years. This progress is clearly visible to anyone attempting to drive through our city right now. We have also been addressing our housing issues. We have torn down 146 structures, with more to come, and we have also conducted close to 4,000 inspections in the last year alone. Jobs are actually returning to Lorain. The steel mill with 449 being added, First Student, CenturyLink, expansions at Chemical, and the retention of Emerson. We're tearing down the power lines along our waterfront, finally opening it for development. Under my watch, Lorain has shifted from empty rhetoric to actual promises kept and an optimistic future.
Thank you. The first question for you, Mr. Gates. In July, City Council approved a point of sale inspection law for the city of Lorain. The new law would require a city inspection for housing code violations before a home sells, and property owners may have to put money in escrow to pay for those repairs. Do you support or oppose this practice? Why?
Well, my vote on the issue clearly shows that I support this issue. There's a common misperception out there in the public that too many houses are going to be failing these inspections. I say misconception because that's exactly what it is. People think these inspections are going to be much more stringent than they actually are. Instead, this is designed to end what I like to call the citation shell game, where we find a property owned by a company out of state, we cite it, they transfer it to another company, we begin again, they transfer it to another company, we begin again. It's games like these and problem houses like this which have been lowering all of our property values throughout the city, and that's why I support a measure like this, that it might not work overnight, but it's going to work towards the long-term betterment of our city and our communities.
Ms. Shepherd, same question.
Point of sale. Actually, I had many concerns about the ordinance when it was first written, as I felt that the burden, again, was being placed on homeowners and property tax payers. After doing a little bit more research and actually meeting with the mayor and talking about the point of sale going into effect in January, it sounds a little bit more like the current FHA inspection process. It's primarily, from what I can tell from what I've written, it's a visual inspection of the outside of the home, along with some basic inspections on utilities. Does it have water? Does it have electric? I am still somewhat apprehensive, to be honest with you, but I am more optimistic than I was before that meeting and doing a little more research. In truth, time and numbers will tell the story after January 1st.
Okay. Second question. What is unique about your ward, and what can you do to enhance its assets or alleviate that problem?
The east side is actually a gateway into downtown and all points west from the east. And we have a lot of opportunity that we are not realizing. I actually took a drive finally through the industrial park the other day that's been barricaded for quite some time. The barricades were removed, and was overwhelmed with the amount of property that is not being utilized. I don't know whether Lorain is not a friendly city to do business with, but that should be a priority to bring that business in, expand the tax base, and then consequently some of the businesses that have left Lorain may come back. We may have another KFC, we may have another hairdresser, we may have those businesses back that have since left.
Mr. Gates, same question.
Thank you. First Ward is, first and foremost, it's primarily a residential ward with a lot of great homes and great neighborhoods to live in. That's why I've been a strong supporter of all the measures we've been taking on City Council to improve our housing stock and improve our home values, to continue making it a great place to live and fill it with great neighborhoods. The other unique item we have on the east side is our citizens. We have a group, the East Side Block Watch, the most vibrant block watch throughout the entire city. And I'm proud to say I've been a participant with them, I help them, I attend almost every meeting, and I'm just awed by some of the work they've done, particularly the incredible transformation that that group of just common citizens has done on Century Park. So that, to me, is probably our greatest asset, just the sheer will and the involvement of our citizens through groups like the East Side Block Watch.
Next question. What unique personal experiences make you the best candidate for the position you are seeking?
There's several things which I think make me the best person. First, I've worked all around the country, and I've seen many different local governments in action. I've seen both the good versions and the bad versions, which gives me a feel for what we should be doing in Lorain. Another great thing that prepared me at an early age was Lorain City Schools. I attended the Hawthorne Bruin Gifted Academy, which was just an absolutely phenomenal education. And it taught me from a very early age both critical thinking and creative problem solving, both traits I feel I bring to the city of Lorain. The other personal experience, which I will forever be proud of, is that I'm an Eagle Scout. This taught me at a very early age as well the value of hard work and leadership. and it's put me on a path towards serving my community in public service ever since I was a small child, and that's a path I'm hoping I could continue taking for quite a while into the future.
Ms. Shepherd, same question.
Unique personal experience, I would probably again go back to 30 years experience in the private sector. I'm quite adept at contract negotiations, rate negotiations at both the commodity level and the project level. I'm respected by my vendors. I admire the value that they bring to projects and know that when you have good relationships with people you depend on, they make your job easier. I think I could bring that to City Hall and use that in dealings with other businesses coming into the city, other council members, other administration people. I think I could bring that to the city, and I think I would be a great candidate and a great city council representative.
Thank you. We'll go into the 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you. I really didn't prepare the 1-minute closing statement, but again, I'll go back to my experience. I am an East Side resident. What happens on the East Side affects me. It affects my house. It affects my taxes. It affects my way of living, and I see that deteriorating on the East Side at an alarming rate, and I don't like what I see. We've kind of paced behind some of the problems that Lorain has had in general with the housing depreciation, but it's rapidly catching up with us. And as a homeowner, a property taxpayer, an employee, an income taxpayer, I don't want to see the East Side deteriorate any farther, and I'll do everything in my power to stop that. And again, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Gates, your closing statement.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. In my 4 years in office, we have made tremendous progress for the city as a whole, but also specifically for the East Side. We have new jobs in First Student and CenturyLink, as well as the expansions at Cameco and the retention of Emerson. We have a lot of infrastructure improvements planned for the next several years. The East Side Fire Station has gone from being closed 90% of the time to now being open 90% of the time. And for the first time in 25 years, we actually have a brand new fire truck for the East Side. I am also proud to have helped in the remarkable transformation of Century Park by a group of concerned citizens, namely the East Side Block Watch. I respectfully ask you for your vote so that I can continue serving you with both honesty and integrity. Thank you.
And that concludes it for Ward 1. If we could please have the candidates for Ward 4, Mr. Greg Argenti and Mr. David Burgess. We'll have opening statements from the candidates for Ward 4, starting with Mr. Dave Burgess.
First off, I'd like to thank CHIPS for putting this together this evening, giving us the opportunity to voice our opinion about council. My name is Dave Burgess. I'm the Democratic candidate for the 4th Ward for the City of Lorain 4th Ward Council. A little personal information on myself. I'm married to my wife Sandy for 42 years. We have 2 children, Krista and Dawn, and we have 3 grandchildren, which is Caden, Mila, and Luke. My personal experiences, I was a commercial banker for over 30 years. I retired in 2009 from Key Bank as a vice president in commercial lending. I now work part-time for Pat O'Brien Chevy in Westlake, and I do the acquisitions and financing for Mr. O'Brien's new acquisitions. So I'm very familiar with large numbers. I also bring to the table 30 years of experience as a commercial banker, dealing with some of the local businesses here in town. Al Spitzer, I remember Mr. Arredondo from there. I did a lot of finance. I financed the shipyard for Al Spitzer, did the bond deal. So I'm familiar in putting these deals together. I think I've had a number of conversations with Mayor Rittenauer and feels that with my banking and finance experience, that I bring a lot to the table that will help the city of Lorain move forward as we talk to new customer or new businesses coming in or existing businesses that would want to expand as going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Argenti, 2-minute opening.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the members of the Coalition for organizing tonight's event. My name is Gregory Argenti, and I am the independent, nonpartisan candidate for Lorain's 4th Ward Council seat. I am not, nor do I aspire to be a politician. I am a citizen and a resident of over 15 years of Lorain's 4th Ward. I bring to the table a solid history of community involvement, expertise in decision-making abilities, and the benefit of an excellent education. Lorain has seen some visible signs of progress in the last 12 to 18 months. This is thanks mainly to the voters passing 2 levies and to an efficient and forward-thinking administration. Achieving maximum possible employment of Lorain's skilled labor force is a critical long-range goal. To attract significant employers, we must improve the quality of life in Lorain. Businesses want their employees to feel safe and secure in their homes and around the city. We are fortunate to have very dedicated and professional police and fire departments, both of which, FOP Lodge 3 and Firefighters Local 267, have seen fit to publicly endorse my candidacy. We must support our safety forces and provide them with all that is necessary to perform their duties. Again, to attract businesses in a significant nature, we must improve the education and training of our children. Many feel that this is not an issue for council or city government. I disagree. Lorain City Schools face unique obstacles. Far too many of our children receive at least minimal, at best, minimal and often zero support at home. This is where the community must step forward to help fill that void. It takes a village to raise a child. We are very fortunate to finally have a school superintendent who is demonstrating not only competency and efficiency, but also a genuine concern for our students and their families. Lorain's future is looking up, and I believe I can be of help to achieve our goals.
Thank you, sir. First question. What is unique about your ward, and what can you do to enhance its assets or alleviate the problems?
4th Ward is a very good blend of commercial and residential areas, a very significant portion of home ownership. That being said, schools, it's a great area. I've lived there almost 20 years. What we need to do for 4th Ward and the city in general is business-wise to alleviate some redundant and overdone obstacles to business and just open the door. There is room for expansion. We've got one place going up on Oberlin Avenue right now, and just continue that process.
Same question, Mr. Burgess.
I bring to the table in the 4th Ward, and Greg's right, we have a diversification of commercial business and residential. My expertise as 30 years as a commercial banker, one of my items on my agenda, when I'm elected and if I'm elected, will be to sit down with some of the existing businesses and be able to show them what areas that they can go to as far as my finance background, and being able to bring things to the table as far as bond deals that we can put together for them, SBA loans that are available for low interest rates loans, and this, by doing some of this improvement and adding on to their businesses, this will bring jobs to the table as well. I also plan on doing that for new businesses coming in. I had a meeting with Chase Rittenauer, and Chase feels that I'll be an asset to City Council and the City of Lorain when it comes to dealing with new businesses coming in to the City of Lorain.
Thank you. Next question. In July, City Council approved the point-of-sale inspection law for the City of Lorain. The new law will require a city inspection for housing code violations before a home sells, and property owners must have the money put in escrow to pay for those repairs. Do you support or oppose such a practice, and why?
I am all for this item. I mean, what it's going to do is, and I think I can't remember, one of the gentlemen was very, very good in what he said, but I'll capitalize on that as well. If you look around the city of Lorain, you're right. I mean, we have empty houses. And what they're doing is residents are, they can't afford it. They're moving out, and the banks aren't doing anything with these. Now, to sell these properties, even if the banks are going to sell it, they're going to have to bring these houses up to code and make sure that if people that are buying them are going to be safe in moving into these properties. And I wholeheartedly support this program.
Mr. Argenti, the same question.
I believe that that ordinance needs to be revisited. Excuse me. The original intent there was absentee landlords to blighted properties to improve that situation in Lorain. What ended up happening from the meetings I attended and saw was that longtime property owners are being ultimately punished as part of this legislation. Much of it is redundant. We have existing housing codes that just need to be enforced. If you want to go after the absentee landlords, there's another method to do that. And I think it should be revisited and several significant adjustments made.
Next question. Currently, there is a proposed ballot initiative that asks the voters of Lorain County to change the structure of county government to one that closely resembles Cuyahoga government structure. Two major reasons for the proposed changes are saving of tax dollars and better fair representation. How do you feel about the possible change?
I don't think this should be summarily dismissed as it was. That form of government has proven to be quite efficient and effective in many communities. The way it was presented that we saw obviously, again, needs to be revisited, tweaked, and adjustments made, probably significant adjustments. But I don't think you can just dismiss it because it is an efficient method of doing business for government.
The same question, Mr. Burgess.
I'm going to disagree with my colleague over here. I agree with somewhat of some changes, but any time that you are appointed and not held responsible for your position, that creates a problem, because you're going to get people that are appointed that probably may not be qualified or something along that line. But at this point, as it is written today, I do not support it. Excuse me. But at this point, it's not going to be something that I agree with Greg. We're going to have to tweak it, but I agree with it not being proposed.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have the 1-minute closing statements from the candidates, starting with Mr. Birch.
What makes me the best candidate? I guess I'll just sum it up in a couple of sentences. I bring to the table 30 years of a commercial banker. I bring to leadership to council. I was an assistant division head. I had over 200 people, and I worked with a $13 million budget. My banking background, I believe, bringing new businesses coming into the city. I think that I add a lot of quality and being able to sit down and talk with these people and talk with them, making them feel comfortable, talk their language, makes the transition from coming to our town and not going somewhere else, coming to our town because they're comfortable in dealing with somebody that has been there and has done it. Thank you.
Closing statement, please.
The concept of efficiency in budgeting is the same whether you're dealing with $10 or $10,000. I have successfully, for 25 years, operated a business here in Lorain through some very hard times. And we've actually managed to grow during that period. I can bring all those assets, also dealing with the public, being able to talk to people and find out what it is they really want, which is our job. We've been elected to represent the people in our ward that put us there. We need to stay in touch with them, find out what it is they want, and represent their interests, even if it may conflict with our own at times. Thank you.
And that concludes the discussion with the fourth ward candidates. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to Council Ward 5, Frank DiTilio and Joshua Thornsberry. Is we here? Eighth Ward, I'm sorry. Eighth Ward. We'll have the opening statement from Mr. Thornsberry.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Chip, for having me here today. My name is Joshua Thornsberry, and I'm running for 8th Ward City Council in Lorain, running as an independent. Was born and raised in Lorain, graduated from Southview High School in 1999, went on to attend school at Cleveland State, where I graduated in 2004 with a degree in education, political science, and history. Also in 2010, I graduated from Bowling Green State University with my master's in education. I have been teaching the past 7 years for Lakewood City Schools, teach 8th grade social studies. But yeah, I've lived here my whole life. Came back here, we had a lot of options where we could decide to live. Me working in Lakewood, my wife working in Cleveland. We looked at some of the suburbs closer to our places of employment, Avon, North Ridgeville, but ultimately we made the decision to live in Lorain in the 8th Ward because Lorain is home. And this is one of the reasons I'm running for city council is because I want to make sure that the 8th Ward stays a great place and that the city of Lorain remains a great place for families to live, for people to raise their families. My wife Jenny she works for PNC Bank. I have a 5-year-old son named Hunter who just started all-day kindergarten, and he keeps me pretty busy. But yeah, I just want to make sure that Lorain is a great place to live. And that hopefully when my son gets older that he decides to remain in this particular area as well. Thank you.
Opening statement, sir.
Thank you. And thank you very much to Chip. You guys have been doing this for a number of years now, and it's really a service to the community, and I really respect the fact that you do that. My name is Frank DiTilio, and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Lorain. I am a product of the Lorain school systems, and I've got a degree from Akron University. I also am a Vietnam-era veteran, and I served in the Air Force. One of the things that I think is really important to know is the fact that experience to help lead the ward and the city in the right direction. I have over 30 years of experience as a professional economic developer, and I've also been a community leader and the president of the Lorain County Chamber of Commerce for 26 years. One thing that's really important to me is that the city of Lorain and the 8th Ward maintain an optimum position in the Northeast Ohio. I think that the 8th Ward is a great place to live. I've lived there since the early 90s. I grew up on 21st Street and 28th Street and lived on 10th Street in Lorain also. I live on Colby Road right now with my wife Rosa and our dog, Jake. And I really look forward to continuing to work for the citizens of the 8th Ward. Thank you.
Good with the first question. What is unique about your ward, and what can you do to enhance its assets or alleviate its problems?
Well, the 8th Ward is unique because it's kind of the new ward in the city. It's the far west side of town. There's still some major development opportunities that exist out there. Not that they don't exist in other parts of the city, but certainly there are a number of opportunities that are existing at this point in time with the development of Deerfield and the estates out there and the Lowe's. And also the areas which are really important. A lot of the housing, new housing is being built in this particular part of the city. So I think that being able to maintain that and provide a really positive opportunity for continued growth, good growth in that part of the city is really important.
The same question, sir?
Yeah, I definitely believe 100%, and no offense to any other wards, but I think the 8th Ward is the jewel of the city of Lorain. And I believe my job as councilperson is to not only keep it at its current status, but to also enhance it. And I think one of the big factors that we're looking at is there are development opportunities, and the 8th Ward councilperson has to make sure those are the right development opportunities for the 8th Ward. A recent example happened where a developer was trying to put in a retirement community on Oak Point Road that was going to have rental units. And I encourage everyone to go and read the public hearing comments on that. It's very clear distinction between myself and my opponent, who was for that project and who was against that project. I am 100% going to oppose any rentals going into the 8th Ward to protect our property values. I believe the Deerfield Homeowners Association President Alan Smith summed it up best at the public hearing when he said, and I quote, "I called our 8th Ward councilman to talk to him a few times, but he never reached out to us and did not attend one of our meetings, and that is very disappointing."
In July, City Council approved the point of sale law for the City of Lorain. The new law would require a city inspection for housing code violations before a home sells. Property owners may have to put up money in escrow to pay for those repairs. Do you support or oppose that idea?
Again, I believe the idea is sound, that we need to protect the community from blighted properties. However, I am opposed to the point of sale as it was passed. I believe the fancy word going around City Hall and City Council was that it was going to be another tool in our toolbox. The problem is that City Council and the City of Lorain aren't using the tools they already have. I've met several people out canvassing that own rental properties, and basically when it's time for them to renew their rental license, all they have to do is simply send in a check and somebody drives by. That's not the type of inspection we need. I believe that this represents unneeded regulation on homeowners when the vast majority of the problems rest on the rental side.
Mr. DiTilio, the same question.
Thank you. That particular ordinance was passed with some major concerns with regard to the housing stock in the city of Lorain. I think that there were negotiations with a number of the people, the banks and the landlords, with the administration after the public hearing. I do believe that the issue with regards to putting money in escrow really discourages some people from having an opportunity to fix their homes because they have to put so much money in escrow and not being able to use that money. And I think that there's been some remedy to that based on some of the conversations I've had with the mayor, because I was really totally not supportive of a process that was going to require people to escrow dollars on their very first home to try to help fix it up themselves.
Thank you. What unique personal experiences make you the best candidate for the position that you are seeking?
I think that, over the years, one of the tasks of a Chamber of Commerce, not very often do I get a phone call that says, "I'm having a good day, Frank." Most of the time I get calls with people that have problems. My skill set allows me to resolve problems, to use resources, and to build collaborations to try to solve problems. And I think that that's really an important part of being a council person. You need to have the ability to support and build a team to solve problems. And you need to know the correct methodology and the processes that occur so that you can really make sure that those residents that live in the city and in your ward will have a quality of life that's worth having.
The same question?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I'm a person that's dedicated my life to public service, done so through the form of teaching, coaching, run the Youth Soccer Association that my son plays for. But I think at City Council, we need more people that are independent thinking, that are just committed to the community, willing to listen to the citizens, willing to listen to the voters, not taking their orders from party bosses or putting party politics in front of the wishes of the citizens. I also think I've shown myself to be a very competent leader. I'm on the building leadership team and district leadership team for Lakewood City Schools. I manage 227 3 to 7-year-olds for soccer on 22 different teams with 22 different coaches, and I do that very well. So thank you.
Mr. DiTilio, the same. Closing. No, excuse me, you're closing.
Thank you. The Lorain City Council has made some hard decisions over the last few months based on the direction of the Ritenour administration. And, we've beginning to move the city in a positive direction. The future will require a level-headed council people with experience in helping to solve problems. One of the things that I think is really critical to know is that the future growth of the city is really incumbent upon us having some fiscal responsibility. I intend to make sure that we can get that accomplished. I also believe that to work with constituents is a top priority. Residents with issues that impact the quality of life need resolutions to those issues. And I will continue to be a champion for those people. It's also important to get a pulse of those people and be able to have a conversation with them on a regular basis so that they know where you are and where your decisions are being made.
Thank you, gentlemen. That ends the discussion on the roundtable for the 8th Ward.
I'm not mad at you. That's all right.
Now you have a chance to be perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a very straightforward contest here. Simply put, do you want somebody with experience or do you want to bring in change? My opponent is part of the Good Old Boys Club that has ran this city for the last 30 years. And if you think the city's going in the right direction, then I would say that that's probably where you want to vote. But if you're like myself and you think that Lorain not only can do better, but Lorain deserves better than what it's been getting in government, then you're going to want to vote for me on November 5th. I'm committed to bringing change to the city. I'm committed to listening to the voters, not just listening to the party bosses and the same guys that have ran this place forever. I'm just like most of you guys. I am just fed up. I've been hearing for 30 years about developing the lakefront, developing the riverfront, and we've given these guys an opportunity to develop these things, and it's time to give somebody else an opportunity to see if they can get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the roundtable discussions. We will go into 2-minute statement and ask Mary Santiago if you could come up to the table, please.
At this time, I'm going to call up for the 2-minute statements from the following. For Amherst City Council at Large, Stephen Mahalsik, Joe Miller, and Phil Van Turen, please.
It's a beautiful day right here in Lorain, Ohio. Even though I'm representing the city of Amherst, my name's Stephen Mahalsik. I go by Steve. I'm one of the sitting 3 councilmen at large in the city of Amherst right now, and I'm up asking the residents of Amherst for give me a shot at re-election this coming November 5th. I was born in Amherst, raised most of my life in Sheffield Township, and I actually had a little stint of living in Lorain for a few years. You know, and I think that diversity allows me to be a good representative in the city of Amherst. I've been working going on 37 years right across the street here at this steel mill. I've worked under various names at that steel mill. I've been in mechanical maintenance most of that time, and I'm currently working on a new electric arc furnace project that's going on at steel mill, which is going to help the city of Lorain and actually the Lorain County and with more jobs. I'm asking the people of Amherst to re-elect me just because I bring kind of straightforward talk and straightforward facts to the table. Being knowledgeable and experienced. Before I moved to Amherst 16 years ago, I had the opportunity to be elected township trustee in Sheffield for 3 terms. But I choose to leave that position and move to Amherst. You know, a lot of people say they could be born and raised somewhere, you know, and that's easy to love your town that you're born and raised to. But I think it shows a lot more love when you decide to move to a town that you think is going to have hope, and a town that you know that you can bring better hope in government to. They're already giving me a signal saying I'm going on too long, which is all right. I guess my 2 minutes are keeping up, but just trying to keep Amherst City physically accountable, services maintained, are responsibilities, not just goals for a city councilman. And then, like I said, I humbly ask for you to give me a chance at re-election this coming November. Thank you.
I'll call up now Mr. Joe Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago, and those representatives of CHIP. Once again, I'm Joe Miller. I got 120 seconds to tell you about 1.2 million reasons why Amherst is such a great place, and I'm lucky enough to serve it. I've served it in many capacities, but the only reason I'm able to serve it is because I have a wonderful wife in Kelly, and my wife, and we raised 2 kids here in Amherst. We're raising them in a Catholic church, which is very important to me. We're raising them in a city that cares about families, that cares about their neighbors, that is safe, that is secure, that it's in the black, and that it's going to prosper. And I'm going to help and continue to do that. I sit on council currently, and I was pretty proud to see Dr. Church up here. My mother's a Lorain High graduate, and my dad's a Maryknoll Steel graduate. And they raised us, 7 of us, in a 3-room, 1 bath, or 3-bedroom, 1 bath house. And I went from going to community college to get a bachelor's degree, to get a master's degree, and continuing on my 2nd master's, all in the hopes of being able to serve as a high school teacher, an adjunct professor for Lorain County Community College. I serve my church, I serve my family, and I'm very, very pleased to serve the city of Amherst. So with that, I'd like to say on November 5th, we have a bunch of candidates that I believe that are sitting and are looking to sit as at-large candidates. I think they're going to do well. I would ask you for one of those 3 at-large votes so I can continue to keep us in the black. We're a small town, 28 million budget. We are doing well. We have our issues, but I come prepared. I do the research. I do the due diligence. and I weigh everything very carefully, and I try to make the best decision to make sure people can live safely, full of their liberties that they deserve, and on the property that should be maintained and kept of value. So thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome my esteemed colleague here that sits with me on council.
And for the last one, Mr. Phil Van Turen.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks to Chip for hosting this. You guys do a great job every year. My name's Phil Van Truin. I'm an Amherst City Councilman at large. I'm actually not here tonight to tell you much about myself. If you're from Amherst, you probably heard of me. You either like me or you don't like me. This is not going to change that. Who I would like to tell you some good things about, though, are the other gentlemen who are here with us tonight. I do consider myself really lucky to serve on council with a bunch of terrific elected officials of both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. It's one of the great things about our city, and I think that both of the other council people up here will tell you this. When it comes to politics, we're not very vitriolic, we're not very partisan. We work together even when we disagree to come to a consensus, and we're really lucky because we have some great elected officials from both parties in Amherst whose job, as they see it, is to make it a better city, not to fight with each other. I've had the pleasure of working with both Steve and Joe up on council, and I'm going to tell you something. They do a darn good job, and they both care very much about Amherst. They're good family people, and they're a pleasure to work with. You'll have the chance to choose 3 candidates, as I said. I don't think there's going to be a situation here where Amherst is going to end up with 3 at-large council people who don't care very much about the city and who don't do a good job for us. There are also 2 other candidates who aren't with us here tonight. Their names are David Janik and James Pullen. I've gotten to know them a little bit as well. They seem to be good gentlemen who care about the city of Amherst. What I would encourage you to do as an Amherst voter is learn as much as you can about the candidates who are up here, who are asking for your vote, and celebrate the fact that we live in a community where Democrats and Republicans do work together to get things done and where they care about the community. So thank you very much. Thanks again to Chip, and please make sure you get out to vote this year.
Thank you. And now we'll call up the president for our closing remarks.
The mission of CHIP calls us to prompt action in the political process, and to also to promote involvement in the decision-making process. And our team is very serious about that responsibility. What we're striving to do is to engage new leaders, new membership, and to get as much perspective as possible from people from across the area so that we could be more effective in meeting the mission of our organization and meeting the needs of our community. I'd like to end tonight by thanking, first of all, the participants for enlightening us, for introducing themselves to us, and for sharing their perspectives, for educating us on the issues, and for better preparing us for the election to come. I'd also like to mention to the audience that this will be televised on Channel 19 and on Channel 20. I'd also like to thank all the committee and all those who helped to coordinate this event. I'd like to thank the co-chairs, Mary Santiago and David Arredondo. I'd like to thank Antonio, who was a big part of the committee and helped to put this together, Antonio Barrios. I'd also like to thank the young ladies who helped to greet everyone and helped to make sure that everything was in order. I'd also like to end by asking the community to please exercise your right to vote. Por favor, use su derecho para votar. I thank you very much. Have a great night.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools, TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.